Welcome back to a budgeting video about my digital cash envelopes. I have a new way of tracking my spending in them, even though I'm showing you the old book, and I just wanted to kind of bring you up to date with my new strategy. Have you ever realized you're just stupid with something? And I mean, like, I'm not trying to offend people, but like everybody can be stupid about things every now and then. And I had a moment last week where I realized that I'm an idiot, and wow, like I can't believe it took me that long to sort of clue in. So, a million years ago, it feels like pre-pandemic, I did cash budgeting. So, I pulled out the cash after I did the budget after every paycheck, and I had it in envelopes, and I had a little tracking slip in the envelope, and that is how I did my budget, and it worked great. I loved it. Something about like the tactileness of actually having it. But where I live, so as with everybody, I think, like during the pandemic, places stopped taking cash, and so you just had to pay digital. Now, where I live, there are still quite a lot of people, or places, I should say, like there's a lot of shops and whatnot that you still can't pay cash. They will only take digital payment. So I sort of, when everything moved digital, I had to move digital and figure out a way to budget that way. And I kind of thought like once the pandemic was over, I would go back to cash budgeting, but it's not the best strategy for where I live, because if I relied solely on cash budgeting, then I would definitely have instances where I'm in a shop or I'm going somewhere and they will only take cash, and then I'm going to be stuck unable to purchase something. And sometimes like you are buying things on a bit of a whim, you have money budgeted aside for things on a whim. Like I was at a couple weeks ago with a friend, went into a store I've never heard of before, and I saw some things that would have been great presents for some relatives that I'm going to be seeing this summer over in Europe. And the store is purely digital payments only. So if I was relying on cash for payment for things and was there and thought, hey, like this will be a great place to get presents, and I have my present envelope with me, well, I would have been hooped. I wouldn't have been able to purchase. So I just decided to stick with doing things digitally, but I have struggled. Any of you who have watched my digital cash envelopes videos, you've seen the struggle where I'm not great at, sticking with tracking everything. I sort of seem to not lose track of the money exactly, but I'm more prone to going negative in a category than I used to be when it was actual cash. Because even though I've always been perfectly comfortable with the idea of, I've gone negative in this category, but I can pull from this other one that I have money in to cover that. As long as it all balances out at the end of the pay period, I don't really care. I don't care if I went into the negatives with fun and then I had to use money from a different category to cover it, because ultimately in the end I've budgeted X amount of money to cover this particular pay period for these particular categories. So as long as the money in grand total isn't going negative, that was sort of more where my priority was at with it. Now, however, what was happening was I was going into the negative, and it was affecting categories that I was not comfortable with swapping money out of. So Striker is my cat and my work parking. These are two categories that I will never pull from to cover other categories. So Striker should never have to suffer and not have whatever it is that he needs in the moment, whether it's like food, litter, a new toy, a vet visit, whatever, just because of my poor money skills or like my small income. And work parking, it doesn't matter what's happening. Like when I'm healthy, I'm currently off, not off, but I'm on like a reduced work week and I'm working at home exclusively right now due to a concussion. But when I have to go into the office, because normally we work a hybrid week of 3 days in office, 2 days at home, the budget, it doesn't matter. Like I have to have money in there. The parkade is not going to care that, oh, I overspent and I had to move money from that category to cover this category. They won't let my car out unless I pay. So I have to have money in my work parking, and I have to have enough to get me through every pay period. So these two I never touch. The rest of them I'm willing to swap in amongst them, as long as when I need money in a certain category or I need to be able to purchase something, I've got the money. I think that it's a good way to do it. But my tracking is horrendous. So I have multiple times where I've made these spreads in this notebook and in other notebooks and tried various ways of doing it, and I don't come home at the end of a day when I've purchased something and sit down and fill this in. I always have the best of intentions to do it, but I do not do it. And I know this about myself, and so I couldn't figure out, though, a better system regarding that, which is another reason why I put these two as actual well, not actual cash, I haven't pulled them out, but like they're sitting in a different account than these ones, so I can't accidentally spend them, because I have definitely before the end of the pay period come to a zero balance in the account where I keep the money for the digital cash envelopes. My time is not over. I have not tracked that I have spent all that money, and I still need to purchase something. So it's not a great feeling. But then I realized, like when I was paying with actual cash in cash envelopes, like doing that whole system, that didn't happen. Well, I mean, one, because I had the actual cash, but also every time I purchased anything, before I would go into the store, I would check my envelope, like the little tally sheet that I had inside of it for how much money was in there, and just be conscious of that when going shopping. And then when I would come out, I would immediately, when sitting in the car, write on the envelope or like on the tracking sheet for the envelope where I'd been, what the date was, and what I had spent. And then that also meant that if I had, say, gone to the grocery store and I bought food, but then I also bought something for Striker. Maybe I bought some cat litter, or maybe I bought something that just sort of fell under a different category, because at the time I had slightly different categories. I think I broke down into like groceries and like personal, like so items for me in terms of like, you know, shampoo and body wash and things like that. And then I had a clothing category, and then I think I had a households category. Like, so I really separated those out. So then I would be able to take the receipt and sort of pull it apart with the numbers and write the correct amount on each envelope and move money around if I had to, because I found it awkward pulling from separate envelopes when at the till paying or asking for separate things, like for things to be rung through separately. So I would tend to just kind of lump the money and pay it and then balance it all out later. But it would always balance because I knew how much I had to spend in total, and I knew as I was shopping I was keeping track and that I was okay money-wise. So I don't know why it took me until just this past week to realize that instead of relying on myself coming home and filling this out every day, which, well, every day that I spend something, which I'm clearly not doing, I need something that I can track in the moment. Like, how did I not figure that out? So I have envelopes, and I think they're adorable. So let me show you. I've got 2 of them filled, and one of them is empty right now. And I don't know, yeah, okay, you can see them. So I have a blue, a purple, and a pink, and they all have like little glittery things in there. And yes, I am a child. I'm aware, but I like them. They make me happy. I bought them when I had the intention of going back to cash budgeting, but then I kind of realized it's just not fully doable for me. So I need, but I still had them, and I think they're so cute, and I'm very excited I have a reason to use them now. So here is my plan. I've got this one here. Oh, can I get it open? The purple is for Striker, and he has a starting balance of $294.50, and I made a column for the date, the description / like how much money I spend, and the balance. And it's actually a longer sheet, but I had to fold it to fit it in, and I didn't want to chop it to make it fit in because, you know, I didn't want to waste the paper. So this will live in here. I do fully intend on going to the bank and pulling out his money and keeping it as cash, because his cat food, for instance, is at a store that I can't Instacart or Skip the Dishes from. I have to go physically there to purchase it, and they do take cash, I believe. See, his litter, though, that's like the tricky part, because I tend to buy his litter when I buy groceries, which I do by tapping, because grocery shopping payments are digital. But I'm gonna pull out, I haven't like set on like a specific amount yet, but say 200. I'm going to pull out $200 and actually put it in the envelope, and then use that when I'm purchasing things for Striker, when I'm like out and about. But then I'll keep some of it as digital and move it over into the same account as the other digital cash envelopes, and really hope I don't mess this up, so that when I do purchase something, like say the litter that I'm doing digitally because maybe I've done an Instacart order and I've put the litter in that order, I can then use the digital funds to balance that. Do you know what I mean? And then once like the digital version of his envelope, once that cash is being spent, then I can maneuver things around, like put some more from like the actual cash over, or as each paycheck comes and I'm putting an additional $32.50 into his sort of account, I can decide one week, okay, instead of actually pulling that out for cash, I'll put it in as his digital money, so that way when I am making a purchase from somewhere, say Walmart, where there are items for Striker in that purchase, I don't have to pull out the cash and then make my way to the bank and do that, because then that's going to be meaning that I'm going into the negatives in here, and I'm trying to avoid that. I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but it does make sense. So I haven't pulled out the cash yet, but I will, and this will be his envelope. So his is getting a separate one because his is going to have actual cash in it, and you may be wondering why wouldn't they all be getting a separate one, and I'll explain that in a minute. The next one that gets a separate envelope is work parking. So $48, I'm just going to pull that out of the bank, put it into here, and then have it sitting in here. And the Parkade is fine with you paying cash. They don't mind if you pay cash or pay digitally. So I will be paying cash and making sure that every 2 weeks when it's pay weekend, I will be pulling out $48 to refresh this envelope. And yeah, and again, like it's a longer sheet, but I folded it in half. So these two are going to be the only ones that have actual cash in them, which is why I've given each one of these categories their own envelopes. This one that's currently empty, I will explain what's going on with this one. So all the rest of my categories, I have takeout, which I'm never using this yellow pen again because it's really hard to read, physio, miscellaneous, gas, which I also really should have put gas/transpo. In the book I've changed it to transpo because this also is going to cover things like parking, groceries, and fun. So these are all going in here, and they're going together because they are never going to actually have cash pulled out. These are things that are always going to be paid for digitally. So I don't need to worry about actually tracking the specific in the hand money after I do the purchase and making sure the right amount of change ends up in each envelope. I'm just going to make sure that I am carrying this in this envelope everywhere I go, in my purse. Luckily it's nice and small because my purse is kind of small, and then that way whenever I purchase something I will take this cute little pen with me. It says Positive Vibes, and it's nice and small-ish, so it'll fit easily in my purse, and it's part of a set. They're all kind of positive messages, so love more, worry less, enjoy the moment, shine bright, and make today amazing. They all write in black. When I bought them I thought they were going to write in their colors, so it was a little bit disappointing, but they're actually really nice solid little pens. Like, they write really well and they're a nice size and they hold well, so yeah. But anyways, I'm going to have this little pen and this envelope with these tracking sheets in my purse at all time, so then whenever I do any shopping, once I get back to the car, I will just sit there and really quickly fill in the sheet with the date and wherever I was and how much I spent and what my new balance is, and then that way I can keep track in real time what I have spent in the various categories, and have real-time balances to look at for the next time I'm going somewhere to go shopping. So it's just like when you're tracking with cash and you have a little tracking sheet in the envelope with the cash and you're writing it all down. It's just minus the physical cash because my cash is digital and it's all coming out of one account. So hopefully that makes sense. Now these ones don't have starting balances on them yet. It's because I still need to fill them in, because I thought I would show you what damage I have done, because this is what happens when I'm not tracking them well. Striker and work parking, they're fine. We can ignore them. Groceries, let me actually flip back to the previous page. This is the previous pay period. So in groceries, I had $60 that I had put in, and then on March 30th, I went to Save on Foods and spent $60.64. So I was over by 64 cents, which isn't the end of the world, right? Now I got paid on the 5th, but I didn't do my budget until today. So I actually went shopping and paid $68.30 at Safeway before I had put in the money for groceries. And so that put me into the negative of $68.94. And so then I've added $60 as part of my budget from the paycheck on Friday, but that means I'm still negative $8.94. And that means that I don't have money for next weekend when I go grocery shopping, because yeah, I already grocery shopped, so I thought I was kind of ahead of the game, and that the $60 that I was adding in this pay period, or no, this paycheck, was going to be used next week for grocery shopping, but it's actually that I'm behind, so now I'm negative. Great, right? And then takeout, I'm not putting anything in takeout. Oh, wrong page. I'm not putting anything in takeout right now because I can't afford to, so it's just sitting at 0. Miscellaneous, I have a balance of $38.54 in there. Fun, so fun went into the negative as well. Can I turn my page? So I did Words. I did brunch on the 30th, which was the Arbor. So they kind of showed out of order on my statement. So I did brunch at the Arbor for $37.05, and my balance at the time was $40.50. So that would have been fine. Well, then my friend and I went to the Cherry Blossom Festival in the evening, and after that, like, we were roaming around and it was cold and we got hungry, and so we went for spontaneous dinner. And I don't have it in the budget for that, but I didn't want to say no. So we went for Thai food and spent $36.63, which put me into the negative of $23.10. No, that's not right. No, sorry, I spent $23.10. What did I spend $23.10 on? Normally I write a little comment. I don't know what I spent that on. Oh no. Okay, well, I spent $23.10 on something. Oh, that was April 6th. Yeah, so this is, again, I got paid on the 5th, but I didn't do the budget on the 5th. So $23.10 was brunch. So because I went into the negatives already from the last paycheck, and then I didn't put in the money from this paycheck until after I went for brunch again, I ended up negative $56.21. So then I added in my contribution of $30, which is what I add. I just realized that's why. Oh, I'm so dumb again. Oh wow. Okay, so I go for brunch every week with a friend. We go after a boot camp on Saturdays, which I'm failing at miserably because of my concussion. But I only ever put $30 into my fun budget. I should be putting $60 because I need $30 for each week. Oh man. Wow. You ever just have a realization that you're really just not on the ball? Okay, so things are worse than I thought. But I added $30 when I did the budget from this paycheck. Thinking, I guess, like, my thinking is I've already had my brunch, so this is the $30 for next week's brunch, when in reality this is really just paying myself back for yesterday's brunch. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna have to revamp these for next paycheck. I have no money this paycheck to do anything, so I can't fix it this paycheck. I'm just gonna have to figure something out. But once I added in the $30, that put me still into a negative balance of $26.21. Physio, because of the long weekend and I didn't have an appointment, and I always just routinely add in $42. Somehow I've ended up with double the amount that I need in the physio category, so a balance of 84. And then gas, which, like I was saying, I really need to be starting to call it gas/transpo, because I don't normally have a lot of parking fees, but I had a whole bunch of, like, parking and then one SkyTrain fee, so I've deducted that out of the gas/transpo column. So once I added in my $25 for gas from this paycheck, it left me with a balance of $58.35. So then this isn't really like the proper pay period, the 7th to the 19th, but the spending, since I did the budget today, this is the balances as of April 7th, and any spending I do is going to be starting on the 8th or later, so I just decided to date it starting on the 7th instead of the 5th, because really the 5th and the 6th nonsense is on these pages. So these are my balances, and I had to fix them because I had things in the negative. So I had a rollover of $42.68 from when I was doing the math on the previous pay period for the digital cash envelopes. I just had an extra $42.68 in them that I couldn't account for, and I didn't know what I should put them towards, or put that towards, I should say. So I was originally thinking, oh, you know, every now and then I might have a category where I'm like a little bit over, so I would use it a little bit at a time to sort of help things, but no. So I moved the entirety of the $42.68 to groceries. So once that got me out of the negative, that left me with a positive balance of $33.74. So that is my new starting balance for groceries. So let's fill that one in. So there we go. Now this does mean that when I go grocery shopping next week, I'm going to have to be very, very careful what I purchase. Luckily, I don't think I should need very much. I can just eat really simply and rely on the things that are already in my fridge and freezer and pantry, and we will make do. I mean, there isn't really a choice when you think about it. Takeout is still 0. Miscellaneous, let's do miscellaneous, has a starting balance of $38.54. Now my fun has $3.79 in it. And I got that because I was over in the physio. So I took $30 out of physio and moved it over to the fun category, really just to get it out of the negative, not because I think $3.79 is going to pay for anything. So that's still leaving my physio over how much it needs, which is good, that's fine. So where's physio? So my physio starting balance is $54. Fun is $3.79. So I'm gonna have to figure something out. I'm either gonna have to tell my friend I can't do brunch next weekend, or maybe use money from miscellaneous if I don't use the miscellaneous money for anything else in the next week. And then hope I don't need it for the week after either. It's a little bit of a gamble, you know, when you pull from like a different category. Gas, I don't have the green gel pen on me, or I would put /transpo. We're starting with $58.35. Oh, and here's my takeout. 0. Part of me doesn't know why I made a takeout one, except I do hope at some point to be able to start putting money into a takeout category again, and I just want to be ready for when it happens. So these are all of my tracking sheets for the different digital cash envelope categories. And yes, so the strategy that I'm going to implement, that I think I should be able to do just fine, is exactly like I said. They're going to be carried with me at all times in this cute little envelope. And anytime I do any purchase from whatever of the categories, I will sit in the car before I drive away from wherever I am, and I will mark it down. And then that way I will have real-time tracking of the digital cash envelopes. And then I'm going to still fill this out, right? So what I'm going to do with this is, I would say weekly, but I don't even manage to do it weekly. So maybe like just every 2 weeks when I sit down to do my budget, I'll kind of bring it up to date based on the entries that I have on these papers, just to have sort of like something kind of larger, to have like a more like a broader viewpoint of it, to see purchasing and to see if there's any I don't really track it for like habits or anything like that, but just to sort of have something, because also eventually these sheets will get filled, and I don't know if I'm going to keep them or not, to be honest. Like, I really shouldn't need to, because if I'm kind of being very good about transferring the data that I write on here into the larger pages, then this is what I can keep as my ledger, and then once these are filled in, I can just recycle them. So these are going like that. And oh, it does close, but they're sort of, there we go, they're hand cut, so they're a little bit not perfect, but they're fine for me. I think that they're great. So this is it. This is going to go in my purse right away so that I don't forget, and I will hopefully be better with the tracking going forward. The pen, I don't think I can fit the pen in the envelope, but it'll go in my purse. It'll be fine. So this is going to be in the purse. These two, on the day that I actually am going to the bank, I'll take them so that I remember how much I need to pull out. And then the work parking one is just going to live at home until I'm actually starting back in the office. And Strikers, I usually know beforehand when I'm going to be going to his pet store to buy stuff for him. So I will probably keep it at home the majority of the time, because it's going to have a fair bit of money in it, and then only take it with me when I'm actually going. Having said that, I do have to buy food for him this week, probably in the first half of the week, because there isn't like, he's starting to run low, and I never like to get right to the bottom of a bag before I have more. So I will have to go to the bank to get the money, because I have to go and buy him food, which is maybe like the motivator that I need to go to the bank and pull out money for both, because I've been saying for ages that I'm going to pull it out as actual cash, and then I don't do it because I just never go to the bank. Who goes to the bank anymore? Everything's digital. I do it all in the app on my phone, which is kind of how I got into this mess, I suppose. So there we go. This is my tracking plan for my digital cash envelopes. I really hope it works. I think that it will. I have very positive feelings about this, and yes, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna see how it goes. You will learn along with me if I'm able to keep this up. let's just all cross fingers that I can. So there, tracking. I never know how to end these, and then I just end up fumbling and talking for a long time, so I'm just gonna go. I would love to hear what your tracking methods are, if you do digital cash envelopes, if you've sort of done anything like this at some point where you have like a tracking page that you take with you to track in the moment, or are you just like much better than I am at tracking, you know, in the evening when you get home, or even just like once a week sitting down? Because really, like, I don't even technically need to collect receipts because I pay digitally, so I have digital tracking under like the card that I purchase with. But I've actually started getting into the habit over the past week or so of asking for the receipt, so that I don't know why, I feel like if I have like the envelope and I'm actually writing it down, if it was real cash, I would need the receipt. And so since I've kind of got it in my head that this feels like it's almost like cash budgeting again, I just want the receipts again. I don't know, that's probably silly, right? I will go. Thank you so much if you made it through this far into the video. I very much appreciate it. I hope you guys are having a really great day. You are staying safe out there. I hope your budgeting is going excellent, and whatever you do, if it's cash or digital or whatever, I hope that your tracking system works for you. And if you have any suggestions for how to make mine better, please tell me, because I'm fumbling around over here and maybe I'm missing something else that's completely glaringly obvious to the rest of you. So I'd love to hear advice. Thank you. I will talk to you later. Bye.